Hello, my fellow potters. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to Vintage Story, Episode 2, Pottery and Pit Kilns. So the first thing I want to do is make some basic molds and clay items. So in order to store my food better, or alternatively, in order to make copper tools, I need a mold to be able to mold them into. So I'm going to make some pit kilns. Very basic pit kilns in order to get that achieved. So 1, 2, 3, and this is my stairs. So there's a few different items that I think are going to be really important to pit kiln early on. A storage vessel to store food that I don't want to spoil, and then molds for the basic tools. Molds for a pickaxe and a hammer, and then eventually an anvil. Also a cook pot so that I can cook. Oh man, stay away from me. And bowls and a crucible so that I can melt stuff down. So here's how to do that. I guess I'll have 4 pit kilns initially. So the first thing I want to do is make a crucible. So I hold left shift, right click to start something. And then you can use voxel tools to left click is remove and right click is to add. And I need to build up what a crucible is for melting down crucible metals. Not all metals can be done in crucibles. Only like bronze and copper. Once you get beyond bronze and copper, you need a bloomery instead, which is far above my my progress. So there is a little unfired crucible, which I would then need to fire in a kiln in order to have that be usable. The next thing I wanted to do is let's do a bowl. And in order to fire things, it takes quite a lot of in-game time to fire it up. So it's good to get these done pretty early on so that you have them when you need them. So here's a raw bowl. And 4 small items could fit in this. The other thing, let's see, what else do I want to make? I do want a storage vessel, but that's much larger. It's going to require its own pit kiln. Maybe I'll do 2 crucibles, 2 bowls in this pit kiln. Or like an ingot mold. Let's do an ingot mold. I don't think I'm going to be using ingot mold very early on, but it will be useful to have one for later on. So when you cast crucible metals, you can either pour them straight into a mold, or alternatively, you can pour them into an ingot to be worked in an anvil later on. This will, of course, make a lot more sense once we get there. So I'm going to do 2 ingot molds, and then probably 2 more crucibles, or 1 more crucible, 1 more bowl. Bowls can be useful for food, but also they can be useful for lighting. You can have little fat lamps where you burn animal fat. All right, so there's my 2 ingot molds, and we'll do another. Oh, that was a flower pot. So, do another raw bowl. Stop it, dude. Stop it. I medicated you today. You're acting crazy. Oops. And then we wanted 1 more crucible. it will take about a day for this stuff to fire. So that's why I'm saying it's really useful to get it done, even though I don't have the need for Crucible immediately. Once we have metals to be able to smelt, if then you're like, oh, okay, and then now let's make a Crucible, that's going to delay you by like a whole day. So there we go. We have 2 of the Pit Kilns set up. The other 2 things I wanted to do initially was a pickaxe mold and then a hammer mold. So right at the start, you're going to find your initial metals either by panning gravels and sands or finding them... Oops. Add some more clay to my inventory. Or finding them on the ground as like little nuggets. But then as you progress in the game, you will start mining them up. But in order to mine them, you need a pickaxe. And you can't make a stone pickaxe. That's not a thing in the game. So you're going to need to pour molten copper into a mold to make your first pickaxe. And then the reason for a hammer is the things that you mine up will need to be crushed with a hammer in order to be usable. So a pickaxe and a hammer are almost always the first 2 molds to make, so that you can actually gain more metal way more easily. So I'm just getting that done ahead of time. And probably after we have a hammer and pickaxe, we'll go for an anvil. Allowing us to make way more variety of stuff. So we'll put the hammer mold in. And the pickaxe mold in. And now, in order to fire it up, I need at least 40 grass, 10 for each pit kiln, and then a whole bunch of sticks. It will be 8 sticks per pit kiln, and then firewood. So I'm going to need to cut down some extra trees for that as well. The other thing I'm going to want to do is to, and I believe this is required, roof it up in order to make sure that it doesn't get extinguished from rainwater. That, and also, I probably want to do a storage vessel, so I'll add a 5th pit kiln for... Oh, there goes my knife. I'll add a 5th pit kiln for the storage vessel. And because my attention is, like, fully on the game right now, apologies, I'm really bad at answering chat. But once the initial surge, or initial blitz requirement of survival is maintained, I'll be better at getting to chat. So if we're doing a storage vessel as the 5th thing to make, well, I also want a, I might want 6, because I'm probably going to want a cooking pot too. So I'll get 60 of this hay. It's going to be really easy to, like, roof it up, though. I just have to put some dirt over it. Not so much a problem. So now I have this. Dry grass. We pack the dry grass in. And let's do, as I mentioned, let's do 2 more. So I'll have another pit kiln here. And another one there. It's going to be a little sketchy to maintain these pit kilns, because, like, I don't want to step on them and set on fire, but... And there we go. We have a little roof where we're going to need it. So the other 2 things I wanted to do was a raw storage vessel, which is much larger. And this is a... Storage vessels allow you to keep food a little bit longer. And then if you put a storage vessel in a cellar, you can keep food even longer than that. Which is truly the best way to, like, well, not the best way, but the easiest way to, like, make sure your food doesn't spoil. There's also food processing, so you can, like, salt meats, and you can pickle vegetables and jam fruits and things like that. So there's a lot of different game mechanics that allow you to preserve your food pretty effectively. But I'm not going to immediately or initially have access to that. So the best thing that we could do is to stick it in a storage vessel, stick the storage vessel in a cellar, and that will allow me to keep foods much, much longer. It depends on the food. Grains, for instance, will store much longer than, like, vegetables, which will store much longer than fruits. So, depending on the food type. Speaking of which, my character is quite hungry. My green bar is just about bottomed out. So I'll tend to that in just a second. And these storage vessels are incredibly good at storing food. They're kind of your best bet for the most part, outside of like brining and pickling and salting. But they do require a lot of clay and a lot of effort. So it's one of those, like, once you make it, make sure to take care of it. And without sounding like a jerk, please stop backseating me in the comments. Because I'm going to be playing the way I play. So then after I have these fired up, we're just going to need to collect sticks. Probably heading, the easiest way to do is, I can break branches off of trees, but heading back to sort of like the forest biome that I kind of started in, which is just due east of me, it's probably going to be a little bit easier because each tree is going to have like a kind of a limited amount of sticks that you're going to be able to obtain from it, and cutting sticks off trees gets labor intensive pretty quickly, and also like wears out your axes. So I'd be making a lot of axes for just a few sticks. Whereas you can find them on the, if you go into one of the proper forests, you can find them in the forest floor, and they're plentiful. And yes, this is weirdly satisfying. This sort of game mechanic is also used in smithing. Sort of voxel-based smithing, which is oddly satisfying as well. I just enjoy it. That's all. Same with the napping, obviously. I've already shown rock napping. But, yeah, definitely satisfying. And I'm not using the copy mechanic. I know. But, here is the lovely storage vessel, which will fire up once I have the sticks and firewood. Bigger. And then the last thing I wanted to do was a what is it? Crock? No, cookpot. It's a honker. Yep. It stores up to 12 items. So it's rather large in the scheme of things. Okay, starving now. Let's eat some fruit. Take a fruit break. Or current break. My initial character's diet's going to be pretty rotten, where subsisting off of like just foraged nuts, berries, and mushrooms. You know, that's par for the course. What I should have done actually is, instead of making 2 bowls, I should have just fired this with the bowl. Because I'm really only going to need, unless I want a bunch of oil lamps, I'm only going to really need 1 bowl and one cook pot. But cooking is one of those things that you could probably survive without cooking, but like you're not gonna have a good time. I'm trying to think. Yeah, maybe I'll make some extra bowls. I'll fire some extra bowls only because maybe I do a bunch of oil lights. So having extra bowls will be nice. So there is the duplicate layer, which would have helped me. And I think that's probably what you were yammering on about, nagging me in the chat like multiple times that I read and kept reading. And I was like, no, I don't need to hear it. But that allows you to just like duplicate whatever the last layer is. So it's faster. But I think it's also useful for new players to just see the voxel based building system anyway. So let's imagine that I end up going for oil-based lights. So the advantage of oil is it doesn't burn out. The disadvantage of oil is that it's not very illuminating, so it doesn't protect, it doesn't stop spawning a large distance. And additionally, it's just going to be dim, generally dim. Where once you enter the Metal Age, you end up with lanterns, which are way more luminous, or just chandeliers and candles, and there's different ways to illuminate your base. But light level is something that is core to being protected. All right, so there we go. There's our last 2 pit kilns. So now let's go find some twigs. Now I did hear wolves off in this direction, but hoping that I can sneak around them and collect twigs without getting nibbled. So, let me make sure the current priority is correctly. Yeah, clay items, yep. And I guess while I'm here, I'm going to cut 1 pine tree, because we're going to want a lot of firewood. It's, I have 6 of them, so I'm going to want 24... Is it 4 per? I think it's 4 per. 24 firewood. Oh, I'm using my shovel. Yeah, that probably doesn't work. So yeah, there is a downside of eating poorly is you have a limited health pool, as chat pointed out. Having a variety of nutrients expands your max health. So right now my max health is 16.7 because I've fulfilled about half of my fruit needs and a very tiny sliver of my my vegetable needs, eating the mushrooms. So if you were looking for branches, there are branchy leaves in here that we could dig out. It's just a little hard on your axe to constantly doing that. Death cap. Let's not eat death caps. They have the name death in it for a very good reason. 2 death cap, or eating 1. Oh, that's a wolf. All right, I hear you. I hear you. I'm leaving. It's your territory. Plant a birch. Is it following me? No. So because I'm trying to work on technology, I'm just going to be... Oh, great. So that's an enemy spawner. That will spawn eldritch horrors out of. Yep. Neighborhood's gone to hell. Now the game will slowly ramp up the spawner difficulty, so I'm not really in any particular threat immediately, but I should keep an eye on that as time progresses. Is there automation later on in the game? Sort of. There's definitely automation. There's mechanical power and hoppers and helve hammers and pulverizers to crush things like quartz and bauxite. So yeah, there is automation. It's not, you're not going like full Factorio levels of automation, but oh, hi. So this is one of the Eldritch Horrors that I was talking about. He's hucking stones at me, so I'm gonna walk away from that. There's not really an advantage of me killing him. The surface dwellers, the surface drifters rather, have a pretty low drop rate of things that are going to be important to me early on, and also I have a spear and I'm naked, so they're gonna they're going to beat me up pretty bad. It's just kind of not worth the threat. Where am I going? I wanted twigs, but I'm really not, like, working properly on that. So let's focus on that a bit more. I will ruin my axes to get the branchy leaves because I'm tired of searching for proper forest floor. It's a bit further than I want to travel. So I need at least 24 of the branches to fire up the current kilns that I have. But having extra branches will be nice because they'll be able to replace my tools. And then I should also cut down a few extra trees to make sure that I have enough pit kiln fuel. And I do have a marker for my home base. I'll probably change the color of it to white, but it's on my mini-map. You can see on the north-northwest side of my mini-map, there's a little brown dirt home. I do not have current plans for the first temporal storm. I'll probably use slabs to just avoid it and not have to deal so much with it. Because I doubt I'll be able to rush the tech tree in order to get, like, decent arms and armor to be able to defend properly against the first storm. But it depends on what you guys vote on. The priority is, of course, ultimately left up to you. Oh, there goes my axe. Alright, we have the twigs, we have the wood. Let's get them fired. And I'm going to change the color of the dirt home to, like, pink. So it's easier to see on the minimap for you guys. Now, there's a lot of... Oh, that's a bear. Hello, bear. Bye-bye, bear. Yeah. Go grizzle somewhere else. Oh, growing flax. I'd mark it down on my map, but if I stopped to do that, I would be dead. The bear would eat me. The open plains, another reason why I wanted to settle near the open plains, where I am now, is you're going to find a lot of grains and flax. Flax is really important because that's sort of your linens, that's your fabric and cloth, and that's going to be vitally important to be able to make things like windmills for mechanical power. And also, you know, fix clothing, make bandages. Flax is a big deal. So, it's one of those things to look out for early on. Now, I did mention I should probably grab some peat last time I was out in this peat field. So I'll grab some peat for fuel. Peat burns at a pretty high temperature. Not really high enough to smelt most metals. Some metals smelt at lower temperatures like lead. Or tin, I think. But like copper isn't going to be smeltable by peat. For that, we would need to make charcoal, and that's a rather labor-intensive process. Best suited for me to wait for when I need a whole lot of charcoal. Alright, so the other thing I mentioned is that I wanted to cover these up so that they can't get ruined. Let's dig out some basic dirt and just plop a thing on top of them. Whoops. Okay, so now that they're all covered up, next is we add sticks to them. And I need more sticks. Because it was 8 per. It's okay. I'll find sticks. If only I could just throw a stick at the wolf and have it not eat me. I suppose that's technically possible. Just has to be a really pointy stick with a really sharp arrowhead. And maybe thrown a few of them. Oh, look, a quartz cave. I hear more wolves. Is it? Nope. I'm good for now. Oh, my poor axe. Oh, some black currants. Oh, is not flowering yet. What's funny is I tried to not settle into the deep forest because I thought it would be so full of wolves, and then the place I picked happens to be full of wolves. Of course, this is like a temporary home. I don't intend to invest in the spot I'm currently. It's just a spot of convenience. I don't plan on building it up necessarily. All right, 20. So just a few more sticks and we'll be good. And there goes that again. Like I said, it's rough on your tools. But we should have the pit kilns fired up tonight, and then I can sleep, and it will make significant progress towards the firing of the clays for tomorrow, which is nice and convenient. And then you guys can pick what I do. Whoa, that's a fall. Not go that way. What do I do next? Is it single player Kenshi? So I would liken this game to Minecraft mixed with, ooh, that rye's pretty close to being harvestable. Minecraft mixed with, like, Stationeers, because it has a lot of engineering elements to it, which will become more obvious later on. Like, just the pit kilns alone, right? Like, this is not a simple process. It's a rather complex process of firing stuff, right? So, but then it also has, like, horror elements. Sort of like Don't Starve with sanity. So that cyan wheel next to my head, that one, is my sanity. And there's a bunch of different things that can affect my sanity. Like being too close to temporal rifts, that enemy spawner that I said that was out that way. Or being in a storm, or being too deep underground. Using certain items, you know, there's a bunch of ways to essentially go insane, and will cause hallucinations and eldritch horrors and all sorts of nasties. Lonnie Lemur, thank you for the bits, and the Fihi for the resub, and I missed a lot of people in the feed, so I apologize. So now all the pit kilns are fired up, and I'm going to have you guys vote on what is next. So, prioritizing food would mean trying to do a lot more foraging, maybe some basic hunting, and looking for terra petra, which is the really good fertile soil. Prioritized building would be trying to stake out like a really good starting base location, so that I can actually settle into a spot that has somewhat more ideal conditions, maybe. And then prioritizing safety would be making myself like a basic set of armor, really crude pieces of armor that aren't effective, but like they're maybe slightly better than nothing. And then prioritizing technology, I would work on getting copper in order to enter the Copper Age. Does fire spread? Yes, it can. Not to inflammable blocks like low fertility soil, but if I put the pine logs down to cover up the fires, the pine logs would set on fire. The dry grass won't set on fire, but yeah, you have to be careful with that. You can't have pit kilns next to like flammable tile, as far as I know. While you guys are voting, I am going to make a raw anvil mold. I think that's probably the next thing I want to fire up. And this will allow me to pour copper into the anvil and then, you know, be able to start forging and smithing, which is kind of important. I do hear the wolf. Also hear... Oh yeah, there's drifters. Oh god, there's drifter on my doorstep. Nope. Big nope. Just leave me alone. Not interested. So this is the duplicate layer, which I'm assuming you were talking about. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. So these drifters, the surface drifters, are relatively easy to kill, but like their drop rate of stuff is kind of low, and I would lose a lot of hit points trying to contend with them. So in my opinion, it's not really worth the fight at this point. So I'm just going to avoid them until I have slightly better equipment. They can growl all they want. I'm not going out there. Now, if you are going insane, killing drifters will help recover some of your sanity, I guess. So there's the lovely mold. I can actually just leave it here for now. I don't need to put it anywhere. I don't really have storage space for it anyway. And it looks like trying to find a permanent base location is going to be the priority. While I'm being surrounded by creepy-sounding monsters. You know, the usual. Good night, drifters. Clay anvil doesn't sound very durable. It's a mold. I fire the clay, and then I pour liquid metal into it. I'm not using the actual anvil made out of clay, as you can't. It's just a mold. Alright, so I slept throughout the night. The pit kilns are still firing. So, let me try to find a permanent base location. What I like to do is I like to settle where there's just like a decent amount of resource availability, and then also like on the boundary of multiple biomes, so that you're close to multiple biomes to be able to make access to them. I'll look around a little bit. I could just do like lakeside. And I guess what I could have you guys do is I'll mark down a few, like, perspective locations. And have you ultimately vote on them. So, one perspective location would be the land bridge. So this is option 1. I'm going to have this be in red. Option 1 would be somewhere around the land bridge. I'm going to go with option 2... being, so we got forest back here. So option number 2 is going to be like, something like this. And this will be in yellow. So option 2 is sort of like a lake near forests and near gravel and near grasslands. And then option number 3 is going to be fully committing, and I'll make this green, is fully committing to a forest. So these aren't exactly where I would settle, but roughly where to settle. On the land bridge, in a forest, on a lake in the plains, or other viewer suggestions. If you don't like my 3 perspective options, you can just vote for your own. So let me, while you vote on this, I'm going to check the viability of these options by heading there and just scoping it out where I marked it down. I've already been to the land bridge. The land bridge is pretty decent. And I'll, let me pin these so that I can actually see them. So we're headed to the green forest one now. And any useful resources between here and there that can be exploited, I will absolutely pick up. Like sticks, now that we're in the forest. So I marked down where I thought was going to be a little bit flatter, because obviously traversing the forest is a little harrowing when it's like constant hills. It's pretty rough terrain, making it hard to easily traverse, especially if you're being chased down by like dangerous animals. Oh, I see some tin. There is tin ore in those. That's really important. So let's mark that down. Tin. Tin is going to be vitally important when we want to enter the Bronze Age. Tin by itself isn't a particularly useful metal. It only can be smelted into a few things and not tools. Yeah, surface tin is like really incredible RNG. Agreed. I've only have like 20 hours in the game, but I don't think I've ever seen surface tin in my 20 hours. So the fact that I found some is pretty awesome. And I'm just constantly looking up to make sure that if there is surface copper, I get to see it. Now, the one thing I haven't confirmed yet is whether or not... So the map seed that I had when playtesting didn't have sedimentary... Okay, yeah, I see sedimentary. This is sedimentary sandstone sand, so it's fine. Yeah, so the map seed that I started with when I was learning the game lacked a huge amount of... It was bugged. It essentially didn't have limestone, it didn't have marble, it didn't have chalk, it didn't have any of the sedimentary levels, and as a result, I like couldn't make lime to make leather, and a bunch of other, like, there was no borax or anything like that, so I was screwed. Oh, there's a dead rabbit here. Killed by some creature that probably will kill me, but I will take your raw meat. Nice. Will the torch ever run out? 24 or 48 hours. Yes, they do. Pretty easy to make a new one. In fact, let's do that right now. Because I don't have my backup torch on me. So then what we could do is we can put this down. Light it. Oops. Put one in my offhand, one in my inventory, and keep moving. Okay, so I passed the green marker that I meant to stop at. It looks like you guys want me to settle at the land bridge anyway. Oh, so here's something important. Resin. If you see resin on pine trees, oh, look at this floating pine tree. Definitely collect resin, as you're going to want a lot of it. So looking up at pine trees and pine forests. Oh, here's some more resin. And other things to collect in pine forests would be beehives. You're probably going to hear them before you see them, as they buzz pretty loudly. But collecting honey for beeswax. Beeswax can be used to seal jars, which is helpful for brining, pickling, etc. It can also be useful for jams. You can use honey to make jams to preserve fruit. Because in the winter, it can be difficult to source your own fruit, right? Like root vegetables can keep in cellars pretty good, but not so much fruit. So honey is useful for that. Definitely want to collect honey. You know what's interesting? This is like a secret valley. I don't know how to get in there. It's like on the other side of this giant mountain. So I wouldn't even be able to go to the green anyway. But you guys say settle by the land bridge. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to settle by the land bridge. So here's the thing. Unless I want to live in yet another dirt hut on the land bridge, which I really don't want to, the best thing for me to do, in my opinion, is to work on being able to make like cobblestone. And in order to make cobblestone, I'm going to need copper tools. So if I really want to settle and build something that looks nice and not just like a dirt shack where I'm like a river hobo, I'm going to want... Oh, that's death caps. Let's not eat those. I'm going to want some basic copper stuff. Oh, that's a wolf. Spelt. Nice. Alright, so the pit kilns are still going. Thank you for tuning in to Vintage Story, which originally streamed live on Twitch November 2nd. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. But please keep in mind that I'm relatively new to the game, and I'm playing at my own pace and don't really need endgame spoilers. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you would like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com also has a link to Discord, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching, and a special thank you to my Patreon patrons, Twitch subscribers, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you in next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow Seraphs.